2023, September 4, Monday. Absurd hunger strike. DP leader makes irrational demand, wages tug of war with prosecution. The hunger strike by opposition Democratic Party of Korea leader Lee Jae-myung is irrational and unjustifiable. He suddenly declared he would go on an indefinite hunger strike on August 31, just the day before the National Assembly opened its regular session. Whenever he opens his mouth, out come his concerns about the livelihoods of the public. But in the assembly, where the party he leads holds a legislative majority, he behaves like he does not care. The demands he made are absurd. He demands three things from President Yoon Suk-yeol and his administration: an apology for wrecking the livelihoods of people and damaging democracy, declaration of opposition to the discharge of treated wastewater from Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power plant, and the filing of a related lawsuit with the International Tribunal for the Law of the Sea, and the sweeping cabinet reshuffle. Lee said he was risking his life to prevent the Yoon administration from destroying democracy. But he and his party are the problem. On the back of its majority, the Democratic Party rammed through unreasonable bills, and Yoon had to veto them. Meanwhile, the party has neglected about 200 government-proposed bills. Its lawmakers prevented the possibility of Lee being detained as a suspect by voting down a government request for an assembly consent on his appearance at pre-trial detention hearing. Lee vowed to abolish the privilege of lawmakers being able to avoid such hearings, but then he chose to take advantage of it. The party's claims about the release of Fukushima wastewater are not based on science. They try to incite people with scare stories that exaggerate health risks. When they were in power, the Moon Jae-in administration did not clarify their opposition to the wastewater discharge, but they demand the Yoon government openly oppose it. An opposition party leader going on hunger strike to demand the cabinet reshuffle is a strange and unconvincing act. It is also hard to accept Lee playing a tug of war with the prosecution over a summons to appear in the prosecution. That is seldom something ordinary people can get away with. In connection with investigations into underwear maker Sang Bang-ul's allegedly illegal transfer of cash dollars to North Koreans to facilitate Gyeonggi Province's North Korea project when Lee was its governor, the prosecution summoned him to appear in its office on August 30, but Lee refused, citing his poor schedule. The prosecution summoned him again for an interview on September 4. Lee agreed, but later his spokesperson said he would be available only in the morning and that he could arrange for an additional interview. The prosecution rejected Lee's offer to split the investigation. Lee talks of state violence and the political offensive by the prosecution. He defines the prosecution's investigations into his alleged irregularities as political suppression. He pretends to be a scapegoat, but the pretense is unconvincing. It is not difficult to guess the real reasons why he went on hunger strike. He wants to get through his political crisis, which stems from investigations into allegations against him. His hunger strike is intended to impede the investigations, block a pre-trial detention hearing. The prosecution is expected to request the Assembly's consent to such a hearing, and calm anti-Lee complaints within the party. There are many things that need doing during the last regular session of the Assembly before the general election. In addition to processing bills, a parliamentary inspection into government agencies is scheduled. Lawmakers should also handle the government budget for next year. The allegations against him are not related to the party, but Lee has used the party to protect himself from investigations. He effectively privatized the party. Few would sympathize with his unjustifiable hunger strike. He must return immediately to the assembly.